Hello and welcome to all our viewers in Nigeria and around the world to AM News and Global Television, coming to you live from the nation's capital, Abuja. I am Priscilla Obasi. A quick reminder, the Global Television is on DSTV channel 365 and Star Times 276. Now the news in detail. Vice President Kashim Shettima has responded to the tragic attack by Boko Haram insurgents in the Marajamo community, Bama local government area of Borno State, offering deep condolences to the bereaved families and assuring them that the federal government is committed to bringing the perpetrators to justice. A statement by the Vice President's spokesman, Stanley Nwokocha, reiterated that President Bola Tinubu has ordered armed forces to immediately review security operations across Nigeria, including the deployment of advanced military hardware and surveillance equipment. Moving on, Borno State Governor Babagana Zulum has visited Daru Jamal, a town at the border of Cameroon that hosts a military base under heavy military escort. The governor, whose visit follows a terror attack that killed 63 people, including 5 soldiers, said the terrorists unleashed the mayhem on the town where residents had been returned a month earlier from displacement camp. Uyi Abumefwebe reports. Apologies, we'll bring you that report in our later bulletin. Moving on, more than 6,400 candidates who sat for the 2025 Unified Tertiary Matriculation Examination are now under review for suspected malpractice. This follows the submission of a report by JAM's Special Committee on Examination Infractions. Global Television's Priscilla Obasi reports from Abuja.
At the JAM headquarters in Buari, Abuja, the chairman of the committee, Dr. Jake Ebele, said examination malpractice in Nigeria has become highly organized, technology-driven, and culturally normalized. The report uncovered over 4,200 cases of fingerprint blending, 190 cases of AI-assisted image morphing, as well as fraud involving multiple national identity number registrations and false declarations. According to the committee, candidates are not acting alone. Some schools, parents, and CBT centers are complicit in sustaining malpractice.
It is with a deep sense of duty, humility, and commitment to the integrity of our nation's education system that I, on behalf of the Special Committee on Examination Infraction, stand before you today to present the report of our assignment.
The committee recommended tougher measures such as AI-powered monitoring, cancellation of fraudulent results, prosecution of offenders, and a nationwide Integrity First campaign. For under 18 offenders, the report advised rehabilitation and counseling.
This was no small task, but the committee, composed of experts from academia, technology, security, civil society, and law,
JAMB Registrar Professor Ishak Oloyede welcomed the report and assured that its findings will guide reform aimed at restoring credibility in the admissions process.
We are confident that the report we are receiving is thorough, evidence-based, uncompromising in its pursuit of the truth, and will be very useful to the development of education in this country.
With the latest revelations, the fight against malpractice intensifies. The real test may be whether students, schools, and parents are willing to embrace integrity as the only path to success. Priscilla Obasi, Global Television News, Abuja.
The Association of Resident Doctors, Federal Capital Territory, has commenced a 7-day warning strike. The association disclosed this in a communique issued by its president, Dr. George Ebong, and other executive members. The resident doctors described the Federal Capital Territory health system as a long-standing systemic failure requiring comprehensive and immediate reform. Despite the crucial role elections play in shaping Nigeria's democracy, many citizens still shy away from registering or casting their votes. This voter apathy raises concerns about accountability, representation, and the future of governance in the country. Our correspondent, Kabir Hassan, takes to the streets of Abuja to hear reasons some Nigerians are reluctant to either vote or register to cast their ballot.
The fear of injustice in voting has taken charge across Nigerian citizens' minds as the reason why majority of them neither register or obtain voters card or cast their votes during election. In every democracy, the power of people lies in their votes, but in Nigeria, voters' apathy remains a challenge, with millions of eligible citizens refusing to register or failing to cast their ballot during the elections. The Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, has warned that refusing to vote not only weakens democracy, but also denies citizens the chance to influence decisions that affect their lives.
I want to vote, but you see, this voting is discouraging because what I vote will not really count. So this is not, we have been saying it, but the truth of the matter is that that's just the way they do it.
It's my civic responsibility for me to vote now. It's the right that I have to exercise to choose my leader. But unfortunately, our vote don't need to count these days.
Our vote doesn't count. Well, it's not what they will vote, that's what they will show, they will bring out.
The reason why people feel their vote is not being counted is because of our leaders. If our leaders will make it right, then everybody will vote.
Participation in election helps reduce rigging, improves accountability, and gives citizens the right demand better governance from those they elect. But many young Nigerians still believe in their vote does not count, pointing the flaws in the system. According to them, their votes do not count because when they vote, it's not what turns out as the result.
The reason that I vote because we need good leader, we need change because there is problem in this nation.
The reason why we vote is to vote someone who is capable and competent for his constituency, and it's necessary for you to have a voter's card to make a vote count in every election.
So the confidence will start from the electoral body. They have to make us believe that our vote will count. It's when they make us believe that our vote will count, that's when the citizen will come out now and exercise their civic rights.
We all know what is going on because by the time they vote, for instance, in my polling unit, by the time they bring a certain figure that I know what each party scores. If at the national level they will announce another thing, I don't believe in what INEC say.
Voters' apathy remains one of Nigerians' biggest democratic challenges, while frustration with the system is real. Expert insists that refusing to vote only hands over power to others. The call remains for citizens, especially the youths, to take ownership of the democratic process. Kabir Hassan, reporting for Global TV News.
Bridges are meant to save lives, but in Abuja, many residents continue to risk theirs by crossing busy highways instead of using them. Despite more than 15 pedestrian bridges across the city, poor planning, insecurity, and neglect have turned many of these structures into unsafe and reduced facilities. Our correspondent, Sadia Yakubu, reports on the safety concerns and challenges facing pedestrian bridges in the Federal Capital Territory. The report.
Not the same way. One day, the legacy, something must change.
Pedestrian bridges are often located far from bus stops or common crossing points. Residents prefer to dash across expressways, since walking to and from bridges is seen as time-consuming. Many bridges lack lighting and security, making them dangerous after dark. Some have become hotspots for criminal activities.
The use of pedestrian is for the ease and safety for the walker, people who normally cross the road, and the safety of accident and any other incident that may occur by the roadside.
Bridges are frequently taken over by street vendors, accumulating clutter that forces pedestrians to avoid them. Additional issues include vandalized lighting infrastructure and physical barricades.
So, some people, they are eager to move in, and they are not used for climbing this barrier bridge, so which is not good. This is protecting our life and our property. But I don't know, some people we are advising they should not be cross the road. But what the action that this government is trying, we appreciate it. So that is the reason why we are always advising people to follow this flyover, because to avoid accident. People are dying every day.
In areas like Bega, Galadimara, and other areas, residents who lacked a bridge near their destinations died attempting to cross. Many bridges are inaccessible to those using wheelchairs or crutches due to staircases and lack of design consideration.
Pedestrian bridge is made for advantage of every citizen in every country. So why some people are not using it? Let me just start from them. Why they are not using it? Sometimes they feel that maybe from their working place, maybe they were tired. Climb that bridge is somehow for them. So they just prefer to just find a way and cross the road. And the second reason, maybe especially in the night, they do rob some people there in the night using some knife and all this shotgun on top of the bridge there. So that, especially in the night, that was the reason why many people are not using that pedestrian bridge. And again, why the pedestrian bridge is useful for everybody to be used is that it's because just to prevent accident.
Also, pedestrian bridges in Abuja are made safer, more accessible, and better integrated into the city's transport system. Many residents will continue to put their lives at risk on the highways. For Global Television, I am Sadia Yakubu reporting.
Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Nyesom Wike, says he has approved issuance of new statutory rights of occupancy and certificates of occupancy to 174 property owners across 15 streets in Abuja. The development comes after administrations discovered that the affected allottees unilaterally converted the designated land use of their properties without approval officially, thereby violating the terms and conditions of their existing right of occupancy. Nigeria's security forces say sustained pressure is shrinking the space kidnappers and criminal syndicates in what authorities describe as one of the clearest signs, yet that coordinated operations are making the country safer. This came to bear at the monthly joint security press briefing of the National Orientation Agency headquarters in Abuja. Aniete Patrick is more.
4 military airstrikes in Zamfara that killed 30 terrorists to police crackdowns that rescued 141 kidnapped victims. August was a month of intense operations. Director General of the National Orientation Agency, Larry Issa Onilu, who delivered a report, urged citizens to engage in intelligence gathering to also aid the operations of the security operatives. He added that the army carried out 261 missions nationwide, while 76 fighters, including women and children, surrendered. According to him, intelligence-led actions also broke up arms-straddling pipelines, leading to the arrest of suspected kidnap kingpins and the rescue of a Taraba lecturer.
The army executed 261 operations. Police made 1,950 arrests and rescued 141 victims. NDLEA seized 66,255.81 kilograms of narcotics and deployed 48 new vehicles.
Issa Onilu noted that the police dismantled 37 gangs recovered firearms and explosives, and made nearly 2,000 arrests, while NDLEA seized more than 66,000 kilograms of narcotics and rehabilitated over 800 users and deployed 48 new vehicles to boost mobility. He further said anti-graft agencies are also making gains, as the EFCC alone secured 588 convictions and recovered more than 21 billion naira. At the borders, he said immigration intercepted 50 trafficking victims and blocked smugglers, while NAFDAC seized 17 containers of unsaved imports.
To the field, EFCC secured 588 convictions with over 21.06 billion naira recovered. NAFDAC seized 17 containers of falsified and unsaved goods, and immigration strengthened border control with 10,803 visas approved, targeted deniers, and trafficking victim interceptions were also recorded.
Officials say these successes reflect better intelligence sharing, stronger interagency collaboration, and more direct communication with the public to counter misinformation. Anieti Patrick, reporting for Global TV.
You're watching the live broadcast of AM News. When AM News returns, M23 rebels recaptured town in Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo as peace talks stall. Details coming shortly, plus business and sports stories on the other side of this break. Please stay with us. Welcome back. Thank you so much for staying with us. Now we go to the business news. The Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy, Wale Edun, says Nigeria's bold economic reforms are beginning to yield results, with debt levels becoming more sustainable and investors' confidence returning. Edun said this at the 11th Annual Conference and the General Assembly of the West Africa Association of Public Accounts Committees, organized by the House of Representatives Public Accounts Committee, tagged Strengthening Parliamentary Oversight of Public Debt. Aniete Patrick reports.
The Minister of Finance and the Coordinating Minister of the Economy, Wale Edun, acknowledged that Nigeria, like many countries in West Africa, faces significant fiscal challenges, including elevated debt, service costs, constrained revenues, and rising demands for public spending. Edu noted that reforms under President Bola Tinubu, such as the removal of fuel subsidies, liberation of the exchange rate, and tax reforms, are improving investor confidence and expanding fiscal space. He maintained that reforms implemented are reversing negative trends and setting the country on a sustainable growth path.
The theme of this conference, strengthening parliamentary oversight of public debt, the role of finance and public accounts committees, is both apt and it is timely. The message is clear. We must act decisively to strengthen oversight, deepen fiscal discipline, and ensure that public resources deliver real and measurable value.
Speaker of the House of Representatives, Tajudeen Abbas, warned that Nigeria's debt has hit a critical level of 149 trillion naira, urging stronger parliamentary oversight of borrowing. Represented by the House leader, Julius Ihonvbere, highlighted the structure of Africa's debt, noting that 35% is owned to Western private lenders, 39% to multilateral institutions like the IMF and World Bank, 13% to bilateral creditors, and 12% to China.
The need for a stronger oversight, transparent borrowing practices, and a collective resolve to ensure that tangible economic and social returns match.
Chairman of the House of Representatives Committee on Public Accounts, Bamidele Salam disclosed that the committee recovered over 200 billion naira in lost revenues for the federal government within the last 1 year. Salam said the recoveries were part of the series of reforms to strengthen fiscal accountability in Nigeria.
Effective parliamentary oversight, particularly through the work of the Public Account and Finance Committees, is therefore indispensable to ensuring that debt accumulation does not become a pathway to fiscal crisis or intergenerational problem.
The conference, hosted in Nigeria for the first time, brought together lawmakers from across West Africa to push for deeper parliamentary scrutiny in managing public debts. Anieti Patrick, reporting for Global TV.
Now go to the foreign scene. In Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo, the M23 rebel group has recaptured the town of Shell in North Kivu province just 1 day after it briefly fell under the control of Congolese army and pro-government Wazalendo militia. Residents say the surprise offensive forced Wazalendo to retreat. The town of Shao sits in Masisi territory, a region rich in gold, cobalt, and tantalum, and a hot club of violence for over 3 months as rebels and government forces battle for control. Norwegians are heading to the polls in a closely watched election that could reshape the country's political future. As global uncertainties mount from tariff threats by U.S. President Donald Trump to war in Ukraine, voters are weighing stability against calls for change. Mukhtar Kasim has the details.
Norway votes in what analysts describe as one of its most unpredictable elections in recent years. Polls give Prime Minister Jonas Gahr Store's Labour Party a slight edge, with geopolitical uncertainty expected to bolster the case for continuity. In the campaign trail, however, domestic concerns have dominated rising living costs, healthcare, education, and a divisive debate over abolishing the wealth tax. The first projected results are expected shortly after polls close at 7 o'clock GMT. As a NATO member sharing Oslo, some voters are calling for continuity, while others want new impulses and fresh leadership. Former Prime Minister Erna Solberg's Conservatives face stiff competition from the populist Progress Party, whose leaders, Sylvie Lushong, has surged in polls but remains a polarizing figure. Mukhtar Kasem, reporting for Global Television News.
Still on the foreign scene, U.S. President Donald Trump says his administration is prepared to move forward with new sanctions on Russia. The statement comes just hours after Moscow launched what Ukraine described as its biggest aerial assault since the conflict began, a barrage of missiles and drones that left cities shaking and heightened international calls for stronger action. Now we go to sports, where at least 4 African countries are close to qualifying for the 2026 World Cup. Morocco have already booked their spots, thanks to a winning run in the qualifiers so far. They could be joined by Egypt, Tunisia, South Africa, and Ivory Coast. South Africa are currently top of Group C, and amidst the threat of a point deduction from FIFA hovering around them, they could all but seal their spots if they defeat Nigeria in Bloemfontein. And that is it on Global TV AM News. A quick reminder that Global Television is on DSTV channel 365 and Star Times 276. Kindly follow us across all our social media platforms now showing on your screen using the handle at Global TV NG. I am Priscilla Obasi. Thank you very much for watching. Good morning.
Morning is your top morning show here on Global Television.
We bring you fresh news updates daily while delving into a variety of current affairs and topics.
And at the same time, keeping you well informed about important events, both national and international.
Global Morning serves as a valuable source of information, helping viewers like you start your day well informed.
Stay connected from Monday through Sunday to a wide range of latest news making rounds on Global Morning.
We're on the road to protest.
The president meets all of our demands.
This is Global Morning.
is your top morning show here on Global Television.
We bring you fresh news updates daily while delving into a variety of current affairs and topics.
And at the same time, keeping you well informed about important events, both national and international.
Global Morning serves as a valuable source of information, helping viewers like you start your day well informed.
Stay connected from Monday through Sunday to a wide range of latest news making rounds on Global Morning.
We're on the road to protest.
Residents meet all of our demands.
This is Global Morning.
All right, as always, we're pleased to bring you this morning here on Global Television. Global Morning, what more can we say? We're grateful for your time, and as always, we're delighted knowing that we're doing this together. I'm Uyi Agmofwegwe, and there's a special lady on the show today who normally, on Tuesdays, she should show up really better because she wasn't here yesterday. I'm trying to catch up with the fact that this is our first time together on the show this week, right?
Yeah, sure.
Good to see you, Priscilla Obasi.
Thank you. Good to see you too.
Right. Okay, so yesterday Ramsey and I were here, and I was trying to wrap my head around how that's on a Monday it was Ramsey and I, because I was beginning to get used to we and Priscilla on the show, but it's good to know that we're back together on the show today again. Good thing is that you didn't tell me whether or not you have a doctor's appointment today, because we understand that yesterday the 7-day warning strike kicked in by the National Association of Resident Doctors and all of that. Well, again, it's not the first time. For many people, it's just one strike too many. 7 days is a warning strike. The question is what happens after the warning strike cycles out. And then, of course, you start to talk about full-fledged industrial action and things like that. But maybe what should even agitate our minds more is the reason this 7-day warning strike has been issued. One would have thought maybe the authorities had made enough efforts, sufficient efforts to avert the warning strike in the first instance. But apparently that didn't happen, and the doctors had to go on strike just the same. Now, the question is, what are the specifics that you're talking about? Amongst other things, one of the cardinal issues is that healthcare facility, especially in a place like Abuja, which is Nigeria's capital, the federal capital territory, is in a stage that can be described as being worse than dilapidated. I mean, the other day, you and I were talking about healthcare systems, even trying to juxtapose private and public healthcare facilities. I think that conversation was pathetic.
Yeah, it now looks as if there's no difference even between the private
and the public.
Before now, what would expect that private hospitals, should give us what the government hospitals, wouldn't give to us. But now we have doctors running shifts from private to public, trying to make ends meet from both sides. And at the end of the day, who suffers? The grass, like you say.
Right.
So, I mean, we will still continue with such conversations, because it doesn't look like we're going to stop anytime soon. Our government is not doing anything about it, for the fact that these doctors came out to complain. I mean, they did not just go on the strike. They came out to complain. They have been agitating. They have been complaining for the longest. And we expect our government, these policymakers, to look into situations like this. Look at these guys. They have a genuine complaint. I mean, when they look at their counterparts traveling, you know, to other parts of the world. It's intimidating. I mean, I look at my colleague is, you know, doing well in some other country. We studied together, and he's been appreciated more in another country. Why should I be treated like this in my own country? So it's not just about the medical, you know, the health sector, but every other sector in Nigeria suffers the same thing. But I mean, it is, our health is priority. Well, we look at it in that way, and it's not something that we the government or, you know, these officials should joke about, anything that concerns our health. But at the end of the day, who suffers this? Who suffers this? You know, the death loss we would have, you know, because of incidents like this. You know, people that do not have the money to afford, you know, private service right now would definitely suffer. And at the end of the day, the doctors too, they themselves would also suffer it. So, I mean, we just need to end all of this drama. We need to end all this back and forth in the health care sector. That's just it.
Well, it's quite a trying time that we live in, you know. One political philosopher probably would have said this is the kind of time that tests men's soul. But we'll be joined by the national president of the National Association of Resident Doctors on the program this morning to help us just provide context and some insights as to what exactly we're dealing with in this regard, so it doesn't become so much of noise in the news. I mean, let someone with some measure of authority come to educate our viewers as to what exactly the problems are and the reason this strike is very crucial at this point in time. That's Dr. Tope Oshundara, who will be on Global Morning today to help us find some sense in this regard. We're taking a break, everyone. When we return, of course, as always, so much on the program. Do stay with us. All right, something else to talk about today is one that has to do with security. No, not that type in the northeast or in the northwest or somewhere in the south. No, not kidnapping, not banditry or insurgency. Cyber security. I mean, look at what has happened to us since the advent of the internet, or what some people call since the beginning of the .com bubble. Right? I remember at the turn of the new millennium, at the twilight of the 21st century. In 1999, for example, I was a small boy. I could hear grown-ups talk about how that there was going to be the millennium bug, that TV sets will freeze, your light bulbs, you know, all of them will get smashed. A lot of crazy things will happen. Your devices, I mean, all of those appliances, because the millennium bug would catch up with them. But of course, by 1st of January 2000, none of those things happened. Instead, so they heard about something called the internet, you know, and things like that. Just so you know, by 2001, I already had my first email address.
Wow.
Well, that's a story for another day. Even though I never used that email and all that. But we have seen evolution around technology, and today you and I can do a lot with technology. I mean, we have a guest this morning, for example, who is joining us via Zoom. We couldn't have done that some years ago, but today we're taking it for granted because he's here with us. But that has also come with its own challenge, with a lot of work today. You hear about things like internet scam of all kinds, business email compromise. People are somewhere in Asia and doing a lot of financial damage in other parts of the world. People in Africa are doing the same thing. In fact, in the case of Nigeria, for example, one of the reasons we keep trying to work on our image as a nation, as a people, and as a government is on account of the fact that we have a very tiny minority, like a handful of people, who are exploiting, I should say, the internet for all the wrong reasons, all right, to give the country a bad name and things like that. So it's now places a demand on us, I mean, people who are professionals in the cyberspace, and those of us who are not professionals but can punch keyboards, punch keypads around there, to say, look, isn't there something we can do to check all of this? Yes, we may not be able to perfect that whole process, but can we not reduce incidences around cyber fraud, cyber crime? Governments are also not left out in terms of casualties, so to speak. We have seen how that governments have been compromised, government agencies and things like that, businesses across the world, including institutions of learning, from the US to the UK, Europe, across everywhere, which means that we're dealing perhaps with something bigger than the millennium bug.
Exactly. Well, the good thing is, you know, with the new government policy in the education, there's a new education reform that's trying to bring, you know, all of this into the curriculum, cybersecurity, and all of that, you know, trying to enlighten young ones. It's a good thing that they are bringing it, taking it to these young ones, preparing them for the digital age. And if we had such knowledge, I mean, we wouldn't be experiencing all of this. But they say, like they say, better late than never. The curriculum is updated with, you know, our kids as little as even in primary school, learning cybersecurity, to junior secondary school and to senior secondary school. They get started to learn all of these things, hopefully. With the knowledge, you know, it will get better. But we cannot deny the fact that Nigeria is repping, you know, we are repping. I don't want to say negatively, but we are very good. We are wonderful. Nigerians are wonderful. We know how to top the charts. You know, every kind of adventure, we're number one. So we have branded our country wrongly somehow to our counterparts, and somehow they perceive us. But it can also be a strength if we take advantage of it, you know. Anybody that can go as far as, you know, using the internet to do all of these malicious things is an intelligent person. They can channel that energy positively. So I don't know how the government wants to do it, but to call for these people, because if they can do this there, we can make our country better, you know. Put them into the sector, every kind of sector. Let them go and use their brain, you know, to make things work. I mean, they just have to look for a way around these things to, you know, use this energy. I feel like it's cool energy, good energy, I
think I like the fact that, I mean, some years ago, we started hearing about, I mean, seeing things like tech hubs, especially, of course, as expected in places like Lagos, Nigeria's commercial city, and all of that, where young people can get, so to speak, incubated, become familiar with different fields of IT, whether, like you mentioned, cybersecurity, or things around web development, all of those tech-specific solutions, just to ensure that we drive all of this energy in the right direction, instead of having people who sit in front of a computer or just get stuck to a handheld device, and all they are doing the whole time is compromising someone else's computer, lifting people's information, sensitive information. I mean, all of these crimes around identity thefts and what have you. But tech has come to stay. In fact, like I mentioned in passing on the program yesterday, there are people who strongly believe, in fact, they're persuaded, that tech is the new oil. And if that's what it is, really, it means we've got to make the effort to ensure that a country like Nigeria is able to drive that front very effectively to a logical conclusion, if you like. Yes, we need to have all of the legal framework around that. We need to be very clear as to our policy regarding technology, because for the most part, I'm not a tech or IP lawyer, for example, but from the little I know, I'm not very convinced that we've been able to galvanize resources in terms of how we streamline our tech-related efforts. For example, we've been able to bring a lot of reforms in terms of tax in this country. Of course, a lot of these things regarding tax will kick in by January 2026. The Tinubu government had to be very deliberate, very intentional in that regard. And we've seen that happen with the economy, whether it's the monetary policy or the fiscal policy. So question is, can't we replicate the same effort regarding technology? Again, like you made an allusion to a while ago, Nigeria is blessed with some of the brightest and finest human beings in the world across different spheres of influence. So in the area of tech, let's even forget about Nigerians in the diaspora for a second and talk about those who are home. Look at the gentleman who is the Minister for Communications, Innovation and Digital Economy, Dr. Bosun Tijani. He had already done a lot of amazing work across the world, starting from Lagos, all right, in the tech field. Of course, private sector-oriented gentleman coming into the public space. And today we also see how much he's driving that frontier, all right, on behalf of the Nigerian government and the Nigerian people and things like that. So the question is, in the next 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years, how many of such, Dr. Bosun Tijanis are we going to have? I'm also glad on the final note that we now have people being taken from the cradle, so to speak, to say, look, catch them young, the earlier they get started, the better for them. Like they say in Warri, when fish don't dry, they know their feet straighten up. It's going to take a lot of work for you to teach me tech from the basics, all right, as against if you were starting with a child who is age 8.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. And I was going to add that I think the Tinubu-led administration has been, I'll give it to him, he has been very deliberate on appointing his ministers. But at the same time, I think we need to see, we need to have a bigger or a larger representation of, tech guys in that space. Else, it becomes difficult. We are in the digital age, and we need to have representatives that are up to date on issues and matters, like this. So it's just, just to put this out there. Yeah.
All right, so there's so much to put out there for you in the course of the show today, but we'll have to take a quick break at this point. When we cycle back to the studio, we'll be looking at big headlines from across our national dailies for you. Please stay with us.